Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons.
Welcome to Strange Aeons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Nice to meet you.
All right, take two. That's Eric over there.
Hey, how's it going?
That's Vanessa over there.
Good day, sir.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Oh, God. It only gets worse.
You can find my number at...
You guys
That.
know that I like a movie called The Day of the Dolphin.
Yes.
Yes.
So imagine my joy when this morning, one of my favorite film podcasts, which I will refuse to name now, decided to start talking about Day of the Dolphin. One of the guys there had never seen it. It had been recommended to him.
Oh.
And he began to shit all over my movie. In fact, he was playing recordings of George C. Scott talking to the dolphin. And he was like, he's like, it's horrifying. You've got to listen to this. And he would play the, and he's like, oh my God, if you were to record this and tell me that you had found a doorway to hell, I would believe you. I watched this at night and I was horrified. I was like, how am I going to get to sleep after listening to these sounds? I was like, guess what, you guys? I'm never listening to you again.
Some people just have such cold, dark little hearts and they just don't understand. They're not willing to enjoy something.
Okay.
Oh no, he went on to say, George C. Scott is being George C. Scott, and he's like, George C. Scott can't even half-ass anything, so he's sitting here having a dramatic moment with this dolphin, and I'm like, well, that's the time I started crying. And then at the very end, after shitting on this movie for about 5 minutes, he goes, but I was glad I watched it.
Wow.
Redemption. I can still listen to you guys.
Jeez.
That's sort of like I stopped listening to a movie podcast a few years ago because it wasn't that he hated The Lord of the Rings. Fine. You can hate a movie that's really good if you like. But his reasoning was so dumb. It's like, it's just people walking to go someplace. I'm like, if that's all you got out of Lord of the Rings, I don't give a shit to hear your opinions on films.
I know. Ignore the entire hero's journey that is occurring before your eyes.
The friendships, it's just like, come on, man.
That was certainly my complaint about the book because they described every kind of grass they walk through for like 35 pages.
Yeah, that is a large book.
But the movie, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I have a real problem with people who decide they're going to dislike a film and then just stick to it because it's fun to be the person who gets to shit on things. Yeah. And I hate that. I hate it so much. Like, I'll say something's bad, but I full well know that anyone who's made a feature-length film is better than me because they've made a feature-length film. No matter how bad it is, as long as it's not literally insulting, like, people.
Well, speaking of horribly bad films that are literally insulting, I caught a movie on Amazon Prime that I guess I have always wanted to see and just never pulled the trigger on it. And it was called The Video Dead. You guys remember this from 1987? I had never seen it. It's got a great cover. Got a great 80s horror cover. This movie was so bad from the lowest employee on this film all the way to the top. They fucked up everything in this movie.
Oh no.
The sound was bad, the angles were bad, the acting was horrifically bad.
No.
The writing was really stupid. The lighting was bad. Set decoration, everything. In the end, I was glad I watched it.
Some guy out there who like really was instrumental behind this movie just gave a little smile. It's like, yeah.
This is about a haunted television set that accidentally gets delivered to the wrong location. It's supposed to go to a paranormal institute, and it goes to a house. And the TV only has one channel, and it is a channel of zombies coming out of the grave, and then zombies come out of the TV.
Oh, maybe the ring got a little idea from something.
Well,
Eh?
yeah, I'm guessing that's exactly what happened.
The director went on though to have a pretty good career as a first assistant director or a second assistant director on Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
But he was the first AD for 6 episodes of Justified and 17 episodes of Banshee.
Oh, well, so he's still working.
Yeah.
All right.
Like,
Well, I will
good on you,
say,
dude. There's a reason you haven't really directed
I was
anything
going to say,
since.
directing and ADing is so different.
Very different
that-
skill sets.
Yeah, I can totally see that being like a crossover of like, yeah, don't ever make one again, sir. But welcome on set to yell at people. That sounds good.
Just going to say, so everybody seemed to hate you on this film. Have you thought about being an AD?
You got very micromanagey to the point of everyone being very uncomfortable. Like not letting people take bathroom. You know what the perfect career for you is, sir. I had kind of a weird week where I think with the election and like COVID popping back up in our faces, I just really needed to watch stupid, mindless crap. So I watched The Holiday on Netflix.
Wow.
Okay, how is that?
Actually, it was pretty good.
Okay.
It was probably better
In the
than
end,
the
you were
film
glad you
saw.
watched it.
I was actually pretty glad I watched it. It was, like I know that we've talked about it before, but Hallmark movies they've really gotten pretty bad and lazy, and Netflix has really filled in that hole. And as somebody whose entire family just loves feel-good films to the point where I've obviously gone in the opposite direction, this was actually pretty enjoyable. It had a fun premise. I don't know. I just enjoyed it.
Remind me who's starring in that? That was
Nobody.
Kind of I thought it was kind of a big movie for them.
It's kind of a big movie, but there's no one famous in it.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love the new Kurt Russell Christmas movie from them.
Christmas Chronicles 2 should be coming out, I think, in the next week. So that's
that
exciting.
true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as it popped up last year and exploded, they greenlit the
It's
second
so
one.
good. Kurt Russell is definitely one of my favorite actors, and every role he does. I just love him as Santa Claus, being like, why do they always have to depict me as fat? Why? Like, that's so good.
Yes, it's probably a smart move. It's like I'm not 25 anymore. I'm not gaining weight for a role, so that has to be part of the thing here.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason why I like movies like Holiday, and there's another one called Man Up, which has a terrible title, but it's films about where people who are like in their 30s or older are trying to date and figure out their relationships and lives and like take their lives in a slightly different direction. I find pretty fun to watch, where it's like, screw the norm, we're doing blank. Yeah. Feel incentivized and like justified in my own life decisions, et cetera, et cetera.
Good call.
I'm just going to be over here not saying anything. Eric, what did you watch?
Well, last week we talked about The Mandalorian, and I want to talk about my other favorite genre series right now, Star Trek Discoveries.
Oh, sure.
I'm loving that.
I saw the first one episode.
I think I'm 3 out of 4 or 5 so far. And I say, I think it's become my favorite Star Trek series.
What?
I fucking love it.
Whoa.
It's got all the Star Trek stuff, but they're telling new kinds of stories.
Yeah.
I mean, Deep Space Nine did it to a point, but they're pretty much movie of the week, TV shows, episode of the week. This is a solid ongoing story.
Yeah.
That is definitely not a creature of the week at any point. And some of the decisions they're making I really enjoy. What they're doing with with Michael's character, I think is really interesting. Yeah. The character Doug Jones plays is fantastic.
I do like Doug Jones. And has Pike shown back up again? No, okay.
Not yet, although they did introduce something that made me go, uh-oh. There's a 16-year-old super genius that started on the last episode. I watched going, no, don't do this again. Don't Next Generation. So shoehorn some smart kid into this show for no reason. So we'll see where that goes, though.
Writing has, I mean, even since, when was Next Generation? 87? Writing has evolved quite a bit, even just in that amount of time. Yeah. So I've got confidence that you can write super genius kids into a show now, and they won't be just
obnoxious
Wesley again.
Exactly. Yes, I think it's going to work.
I mean, I will take Wesley over Alexander any day of the week, though. There are bad kids. Alexander was Worf's kid.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah.
Geez, yes.
And Naomi Watts, who's the Voyager child, she's okay too. Mm-hmm. So I think that you can have kids in there that are okay. But yeah, you're right. When you introduce the super genius element, it's like, oh man.
But I again, like I said, I think this is great. So I have faith that it'll figure it out.
I do like that they changed time zones.
Time zones 900 years.
Yes, I do like that. That is pretty neat.
Yeah, the idea of Star Trek being a old ship, it's like a relic that they're flying. It was the most advanced starship in the Federation. Now it's a relic, except for the the way it travels is still apparently completely unique. But it's kind of fun. This should be interesting.
I need to get back into this show.
Yeah, same. I did see the first episode and I did enjoy it quite a bit. So I'm stoked to keep going because I was losing a lot of faith. Really?
I loved the end of season 2.
Season 2 was okay. Season 1 was rough. And I think it just kept changing direction so hard each time that it did shake things up that I was like, what show am I watching now? This is so different. But overall, there are some really fun, interesting characters in there. And everyone they've introduced, I've really liked. So
yeah, it's definitely one to watch again before you make the final statement on it being your favorite. But notice the way I said that. I loved the way season 2 ended.
Right.
Moving up to that was okay.
There were moments,
but those last 2 episodes were, Jesus, easily some of the best star-based battles shot in Star Trek. Just holy shit, man. They're dumping money into this son of a bitch.
I know. CBS doesn't have anything else to do. It's fine.
That's true.
Well, you guys, I took advantage of HBO last night, and I watched a little gem I had forgotten all about called Broken Arrow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my
Christian
God.
Slater, John Travolta, and Howie Long.
John Woo movie, isn't it?
It is a John Woo movie. Wow. This piece of shit was so bad.
Oh, no.
I remember seeing this in the theater and kind of liking it. The acting in this is atrocious. And John Travolta is not the best actor in the world anyway, but I have to imagine that John Woo is just egging him on. I need you to be bigger, John. Your teeth, which are like gravestones, they're so huge. I need to see all of them while you're talking.
Oh, my God.
He's got some chompers on him, man. And then I felt bad because I was like, man, what happened to Christian Slater? That guy just moved into obscurity. And I look on his IMDb. He has been working so fucking much in shows I just don't watch, like Robot. Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot.
Yeah, he was good in that.
And really just a ton of stuff. I mean, the guy never stopped working.
He does a lot of indie horror stuff. He's in Toronto After Dark, starring almost every year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
was just so pleased to see that because he was actually very likable in this, and it could have just been because Travolta was so unlikable. But I really was kind of stunned at how horrible the movie was.
Huh. That's crazy because I remember the last time I saw Broken Arrow was when it was on pay-per-view in probably 1996, early pay-per-view where you would purchase it, I think via the phone, and you could watch it for 24 hours and it would start on one channel and you had to just be like, oh, at 6 o'clock it restarts again.
That's right.
And then tune in. I think I probably watched it 3 times in a single day and felt like it was enjoyable enough for 1996.
Wow. Well, you should give it a try again.
I don't think I want to. I think I'm good. I think I have other things to do.
Keep the nice memory you have of it.
It was shockingly bad. Now, I did enjoy myself, but only because there were lines that I could just say, I knew what the next line was going to be, not because I remembered it, but because the writing was so bad that I was like, well, the only thing he can say after this was, I lied, or miss me, or, shit like that. I was just like, boy, this is really bad.
Well, I another gem that I checked out this week. It was a weird week for me. In fairness, I was editing a lot and needed stuff on in the background that I didn't have to pay attention to. So my follow-up choice after Holiday was The Help.
The movie from the Oscar one?
Yep.
Okay.
I refused to watch it for so long because I was like, this looks really like, I don't know. There's something I don't want to see about this. And it was fine. It was okay. It was better than I expected.
It's a good example of like what happened with Green Book.
Yes, it's very much.
Yeah, where it's
that
like
same line.
Here, white people feel good about being nice to black people.
That's exactly what it is. And that's probably why I was really uninterested. Because when, Moonlight has to like really scrape its way to the top, but the fucking like Green Book just rolls in through and like, don't worry, there's a white person in it, so you'll be okay.
It's driving Mr. Daisy.
So true. God, fucking Green Book. Yeah, it had that feel to it, but I do think the cool thing about it is it gave space for a lot of very cool female actresses who'd been sort of sidelined for a long time to show up. And I don't know if this was before or after. I think it was before Hidden Figures. But it gave room for a lot of black talent to resurface or to be recognized. And I think that was really nice. I mean, I don't think I'd definitely seen, I think it's Octavia Spencer who's in it. But the main woman I had not seen in anything before, and she was great. So. Yeah. And I don't mean redheaded Emma Stone. I mean African-American woman whose story is being told through this film. So, yes.
Octavia Spencer is one of those women now that you're just like, it can't be too bad, right?
Yeah,
She's so good in every fucking thing.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's the stupidest movie or the best. She's just solid. Like George C. Scott. She doesn't half-ass it.
That's
Doesn't know how
so
to.
true.
She whole-asses it every time.
Yeah, there was some film that I saw the other day where she was like a super bit role, but still nailed it. And I was like, damn, Octavia, damn, you're so good.
Man, I did not watch a lot this week. I've been looking for what the fuck else should I watch this week that I'd want to talk about. A few things I watched. I don't know if I want to talk about, but well, we've been rewatching Schitt's Creek, so because that's still fucking fantastic.
Absolutely.
Let's see what else. Watched a little bit of a very weird show on HBO. Lasted 2 episodes ago. Yeah, this is just too much. Is a dog grooming contest show.
I did not expect you to say that. In my
slow
life.
week at the Morgan.
Yes, it was. We were watching something on HBO Max, might have been Black Christmas, but afterwards pops up like cute dogs getting groomed. Let's check it out. Cute dogs getting groomed with really annoying hosts and really weird shit being done to some of the dogs. Where it's like, I'm going to put earring on with tape on this dog, and I'm going to dye its hair. This because
oh Jesus Christ! Run, dog, run.
Oh, okay. I did watch a few episodes of Evil.
Oh,
what did you think? I still I'd seen the first 2 before just missed going back. It's definitely worth finishing that show off because it's good.
I don't think there's anything really new going in on it, but performances are really strong, and I just ended up liking all of those actors.
Yeah. Well, after Power Man, I'll watch that guy and whatever he shows up in. He's just so much fun, so good on screen.
Easy on the eyes too.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting the name of the show because it's so generic, and it doesn't represent what is really happening in it. So every time I'm like, what? God, I know there's this show I want to watch, and it's on some streaming service. Which one? Netflix. Got it. All right. Well, at some point I'll remember
call
this.
that because he's so dreamy looking and muscular. He's not exactly what you think of when you're thinking of your guy training to become a priest.
Yeah.
They should call that cruciflex.
Oh my God. I would not forget cruciflex.
That's what I mean. Who's tuning in for cruciflex tonight?
What was that amazing named film on Shudder? I think you had posted about it.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna
Blood Vessel.
Oh, blood vessel.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know if that film is any good, although it's got like 4 out of 5 skulls on Shudder.
I'll just talk about it very briefly then. It is a so-so movie with an amazing third act and a really good vampire design.
Okay, cool.
But it's
Blood
not
Vessel.
Great. Blood vessel. Come on.
You can't.
Come on.
Is it on a boat?
Yes.
Of course. This is a movie.
Vampires on a boat.
Remember, I have my little game of movies where they came up with the title before they came up with the movie?
Yes.
Yes.
That is 100% qualifying.
So, all right. Why don't we take a little break then? And then we are coming back with my topic this week, which is ghost movies that are not horror movies.
This is the story of a house, not any ordinary house, but a house where the family plot leads through a creaking front door, where spooky rooms stretch, and all foolish mortals are welcome. A house known as the Haunted Mansion.
Doors creak and the tombstones quake. Happy haunts materialize. And begin to mobilize. Grim ghosts come out to socialize.
Even with 999 grim-grinning ghosts, there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers?
We are back. Guys, this was my topic choice, and I chose this, a little sneakily because I saw a movie
Oh, of course.
that I ended up loving so much, and I was like, how do I get to talk about this?
Perfect.
So the topic is, of course, ghost movies that are not horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose this topic because I had just seen the movie Ghost Town.
So anyway, my 5-year-old Alex.
No talking. That's better. Stop global warming? Good. Thank you.
Excuse me, that's my cat. Can you hold the elevator, please?
Yeah. Sorry.
Wait, hold, hey.
You still don't believe? Sorry, you babbling idiot. Can we talk about my bowels?
Is this your first colonoscopy?
Gross invasion of my privacy, this.
Wait till they get you in the back.
When your soapbox unfolds.
Come back soon.
What a terrible thing to say in a hospital.
Hey, you got a sec? Real quick, gotta hit you up for a favor.
I don't feel well. Did anything unusual happen during my procedure?
You died.
I died.
A little bit.
For how long?
7 minutes.
A bit less.
I died for 7 minutes.
A bit less.
Everybody dies.
I was dead. And then when they brought me back, the dead have a lot of unfinished business, which is why we're still here. Help, please. Why are you dressed like that? Were you a maitre d'?
You wear what you died in. At least I look nice.
Everybody needs something done. You're the only person who can see or hear us.
It's my daughter. She
Back
lives.
off, Marjorie. I found him first.
Is this a bad time?
You want your quiet life back, I'll make you a deal. My wife, my widow, she's getting married to a bad guy. Somebody's got to stop this.
You do this for me, you'll never see any of us ever again, okay?
From DreamWorks Pictures and Spyglass Entertainment.
That woman lives in my building. Bertram Pincus, DDS.
Who you are is a little bit of a jerk.
Shoes. Your shoes are comfortable.
Bye.
I knew you were going to come off scary.
I'm not scary.
This fall,
You're going to have to stop and ask yourself the ultimate question. This business of being such a jerk, what is it really getting me?
Hi.
I'm gonna get the next one.
Don't be silly. Get in here.
How do the ladies resist their rap ears?
This is how we do it, baby.
see life
I suppose you're talking to him right now. Is that what you want me to believe?
Wait!
in a whole new light.
Ooh,
The smell, I know.
got a very sensitive gag reflex.
Ghost Town.
Oh! If I see one more whinging zombie anywhere
No,
near me...
we're not zombies. Zombies feed on human flesh. That's offensive.
That's right. I remember you mentioning that you'd seen Ghost Town and that you enjoyed it.
From 2008. Are you guys familiar at all with
I
this?
don't think so.
I am. I lived in England when it came out.
Of course you
Yeah.
are. Eric, this is your kind of movie.
Ghost Town.
Has a budget of $20 million and a box office of $27 million.
Oh.
Ouch. But Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have it at 85%. The audience has it at 60%. It was directed by David Koepp, who directed Stir of Echoes, Secret Window, but you would know him mostly as a writer. He wrote Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park,
Whoa.
Carlito's Way, The Shadow, Mission Impossible, Panic Room, Spider-Man, War of the Worlds, Zathura, Jack Ryan, and the recent The Mummy.
Who is this guy?
Damn.
Right.
What? Whoa.
I mean, this is a guy who, even if you only got paid $1 million for each of these screenplays, and I guarantee you he got paid more than that, right there, that's $10 million.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
that was only his big, huge hits that I put down here. It was written by Koepp, again, and John Camps, who wrote The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie,
Oh, it was not a bad film.
The Borrowers, and just recently, Premium Rush. It stars Ricky Gervais.
Nice.
I'm
You guys-
aware.
You guys know Ricky. He created and starred in the British version of The Office and a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Yes. He plays himself a lot.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
It also stars Greg Kinnear, who you would know from As Good as It Gets, Little Miss Sunshine, and Dear God, I suppose, if you watch that. And Téa Leoni from Wyatt Earp, Deep Impact, and Jurassic Park 3. She was one of these actors that had a lot of heat for a very brief amount of time, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
This story is adorable. This is a ghost story that is a romantic comedy. So Gervais plays a dentist named Bertram Pincus, and that's just a funny name. So he's in New York City, and he mostly keeps to himself because he's kind of an asshole, which we see pretty early on in a lot of kick the dog moments, like making sure no one can get in an elevator with him as the doors are closing, and they're saying, hold the door, and he's like, okay, he's trying to press the door close. I don't know what's going on. And he also makes sure that nobody can get in a cab with him. And at the beginning of this film, he has scheduled himself for a routine colonoscopy and requests to be put under anesthesia against the doctor's suggestions. When he leaves the hospital, he finds that certain individuals on the street are following him wherever he goes and paying extra special attention to him. And it turns out that these are all dead people. And he is able to see and hear them because for 7 minutes during his colonoscopy, he died and was revived.
Oh my gosh. Oh Jesus.
It's the whole premise of this story. It's so stupid, but I was laughing, and I don't even know how I found this movie. It just started playing, and it is on Amazon Prime, and I just kind of got sucked up into it, and I was like, this is adorable. Where's this been all my life? The dead, of course, are all in need of one last request from their past lives, which is why they haven't moved on to heaven. And he is the perfect vehicle for this, except, as we know from earlier in the movie, he's an asshole. So all these people are begging him to talk to somebody in their past life so they can, get going. And he's just like, not interested. And please leave me alone. To the point where, like, he'll be walking along and he'll see that somebody's a dead person, and he'll go out of his way to make sure the person doesn't think he can see him because he knows they're going to be like, you can see me? So Greg Kinnear now.
Yes.
He is Frank. He is recently deceased, and he just happened to be a former resident of the same building that Pincus lived in. And he needs to talk to his wife. When we first meet him, he is screwing around on his wife, and we don't see him screwing around, but we know that he is doing that, and he gets hit by like an air conditioner that falls out of a window and killed. And apparently he's been just kind of wandering around with his wife and her new boyfriend. This is like a year later after all this. And he sees Pincus and says, hey, you've got to stop this from happening. My wife is dating this guy and he's bad for her and all this stuff. And she lives in your building. And of course we had seen him make sure she couldn't get on the elevator with him. So he does recognize who she is. And he agrees to help because he takes a look at her and it's Téa Leoni. And he's like, oh, wait a second. I didn't realize she was gorgeous. This changes everything. Yes, I'll help you. Frank is Greg Kinnear. Frank vows to make all the ghosts go away if Pincus will stop his wife, Gwen, from getting married to her new boyfriend. So Pincus grudgingly takes him up on the offer, but then guess what? He starts to fall for Gwen.
Aww.
And she and Pincus actually hit it off pretty good as friends, despite her involvement with her boyfriend. She is a Egyptologist at a museum, and she is working on a mummy, and Frank has made a joke about the dental work and all this stuff at like this museum opening and stuff. And she's like, wait a second, do you actually know what you're talking about here? And he's, oh yeah. And so they kind of head it off. And once you get, under his gruff exterior, he's actually a very likable guy because he's Ricky Gervais. He's funny and, he's just
playing himself.
He just feels kind of like the kind of guy you would actually hit it off with pretty well. That, of course, does not work for Frank, whose whole thing was, I want to get rid of this guy. And the problem is, the reason he wants to get rid of her new boyfriend is because she's dating a guy.
Oh.
It's not because the boyfriend is evil and all that stuff. In fact, Pincus starts to meet him and is like, he's a perfectly nice guy. Now I feel like a shit because I like his fiance, and you're a shit for trying to make her break up with him.
Oh.
So he's, the new boyfriend is not exactly exciting or anything, but he is nice. So this is very typical romantic comedy stuff. Sure. They become pretty good friends, and she's actually starting to fall for him, and he decides, I can't do this because I'm lying about this. And so guess what? He decides to tell her the truth, that I know all this stuff about you, and I can come up with these things you like because your dead husband is whispering in my ear. And of course, this is one of those, you're being ridiculous. That's not how this works and all that. But she's crying. They split up, And so this is where boy loses girl. You guys, will they find a way to make this work? I'm not telling. I don't want to give anything away, but this might have a happy ending.
Aww.
And it definitely has a funny ending.
Aww.
Because Pincus gets hit by a truck and dies. So,
oh my God! Wait.
And it was a pretty dang good movie. I only have a couple of notes here, and one of them is the Beatles song "I'm Looking Through You," which you might not know by the title, but you would know if you heard, is used in the movie, and it is one of the very, very few occasions where the original version of a Beatles song has been allowed to be used in a film.
What?
Wild.
Cool.
Because
Paul
McCartney and Yoko Ono control all that stuff, and it's just like, no, we're not going to let that happen. There are 3 taglines for this movie. Each one of them is pretty stupid, but they also made me chuckle. The one I like best, he sees dead people, and they annoy him. Dr. Bertram Pincus can see you now.
Oh, that's bad.
And then this place is so dead.
You're not helping me want to see the movie now. I was all on board for
Timelines
that.
are rough.
The movie is fucking adorable, and I win this one.
I don't know about that.
Well, why don't you tell me a better movie?
Maybe I will. So, the movie I chose for this is a actually beloved film of mine. It's the 1990 film Truly, Madly, Deeply.
The day Jamie went away, Nina's whole world fell apart.
It's tragic. One minute he has a sore throat, and he's having an examination. The next moment he stopped breathing.
Then, without warning, he came back. It was truly miraculous.
Are you here? You are here.
I'm here. Didn't die properly. Maybe that's why I didn't come back.
Is this going to be your party trick? And he's back. Then what?
This is Freddie. This is Pierre. Some of the guys wanted to come back and...
You telling me that there are dead people in my living room watching videos?
5 easy pieces or Fitzcarraldo.
But living in the past
Was it like this before?
can mean a life without a future.
Can I call you?
Yes. No, I'll call you.
Where have you been?
Nowhere.
I've sort of worked out that you're living with somebody else.
How can she choose between the man she truly, madly, deeply loved
Can't believe I'm doing this.
and another man
I love basically everything. Music, curry, I can practically recite the complete works of art.
truly, madly, deeply alive?
I've got to be somewhere else. It's very complicated. Darling, I don't want you to go. I don't know what I want.
Truly, madly, deeply.
Truly, madly.
I really, truly, madly love you.
Really, truly, madly, deeply love you.
I really, truly, madly, deeply, passionately love you.
Now,
Nice.
not a lot of people have heard of this. Have you seen this, Eric? Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Okay, cool. Now,
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I've seen this, but
I came across this when I was living in the UK. So it was just one of those weird ones where I feel like when I got to the UK, the people I was hanging out with just kind of sat me down and threw videotapes on for like 2 years because I saw a lot of really weird content that then never heard of again when I came back. So my copy of it is like a British DVD. I don't even know how you see it here. I'm sure it's not at all impossible. But the audience will agree with me from Rotten Tomatoes, 88%. Critics gave it 73%.
it's still pretty good.
Not too bad. The budget was $650,000. It was shot in 28 days and it made $1.5 million, which is pretty good because it was actually originally a made-for-TV movie.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What year did you say this was?
1990.
90, okay.
Mm-hmm. The director is Anthony Minghella. He's directed 9 films, written 19. You would know him from Talented Mr. Ripley, which he both wrote and directed, as well as he wrote Cold Mountain, The English Patient, and a lot of British TV, including some that I know, Grange Hill and Inspector Morse. It's starring some very cool humans. So the star of the film is a character named Nina, recently, not widowed, but recently singled by her significant other dying. And that's played by Juliet Stevenson. She has been in a ton of stuff, 84 different titles. If you saw her, you would know instantly who she is. She was in Nicholas Nickleby. She's been in Emma. She's been in Bend It Like Beckham. But she's been in a lot of UK TV, and you're going to hear that a lot from me today. Co-starring with her is Alan Rickman. You may or may not know of Alan Rickman. He's been in 70 different things. He plays Jamie, the no longer with us boyfriend. Funnily enough, he did this first. I'm sorry. Die Hard was one of his very, very first films ever. Before that, he was actually like a graphic designer who turned to theater pretty late in his life, just for the fun of it, and then got Die Hard, and people were like, oh my God, you're like bringing it, and you're bringing something very cool that no one expected. After Die Hard, not too long after he did this film, and then right after this he did Robin Hood, then came Sense and Sensibility, followed by Dogma, Galaxy Quest, etc., etc. So like this was kind of part of that early build of his career.
He was one of those actors that for a year or two was in like every damn movie that came out.
Yes.
And we were happy about it.
Yes.
Exactly. Yep. And unfortunately, for anyone who doesn't know, he's no longer with us, but just such a talented guy. I think he brought so much to like Harry Potter, and everything he rolled into, he took a character who should be crap and made amazing. So a couple other there's a lot of other people in this, but I don't think, unless you're like a huge fan of British stuff, you probably won't really recognize them. One of the few other people you might know is Bill Patterson, who's been in 145 things. Most recent, notably, he plays the dad in Fleabag. He's Ned Gowan in Outlander. He's been in a lot of UK TV. So, you know, you look at him and you're like, man, he looks vaguely familiar. He's done a ton of stuff, but again, mostly UK stuff. And also there's Michael Maloney, who plays Mark, who is another young, attractive gentleman in this film, who is probably attractive only if you think certain people are attractive. And he's been in 147 things. Most recently, Sir Robert Peel in Young Victoria. So a lot of British people in this, which makes sense because it's a very British film. So the plot: Nina has lost the love of her life, a talented cellist who basically one day got a sore throat and then died.
Wow.
Yeah. Very, very quick, very harsh, very sudden. She's in therapy, but she's kind of constantly breaking down. She's refusing to go out and spend time with her coworkers. She's just hiding away in this really dumpy apartment. And that apartment has a growing rat infestation. She's like waking up to them, like crawling across her.
Good Lord.
Yeah, losing her damn mind. Her plumbing is broken. Everything's going wrong. And there are little hints too, like the people around her really want to help her, but she's not letting them. She has a coworker who also had a very bad breakup. It was a divorce, not a death, but he kind of tries to reach out to her and make sure she's okay. She just refuses to spend time with them. The guy who's repairing her plumbing is this Polish guy he says he's in love with her and buys her random tickets to go to France with him. And she's just like, I'm going to go back to bed. Good night. There's no interest in this poor guy. One day her sister comes over and tries to kind of help her out. She shows up with her son. They're having a good time hanging out in the flat. She's helping her clean, trying to, just give her a little bit of attention. And she brings up the idea, hey, your nephew that you adore is trying to learn how to play the cello. Maybe he could use Jamie's old instrument. Jamie's the boyfriend. And Nina loses her mind. She goes into a total rage and says, how dare you? He's barely been dead, even, however long he's been dead for, which I don't think they ever say. And this is him. This is an extension of him. You can't have this. That's insulting. So sister leaves. Nina sits down at her piano, starts to play, and lo and behold, Jamie shows up. Just, hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm here. You seem a little sad. I'm here. Let's hang out. She is so excited and so thrilled. And it's an interesting kind of version of a ghost. He's touchable. He's there. Like, you can interact with him completely. She basically bangs him for 2 days straight. She's just so excited he's available. But the thing is, he is dead and he's very cold. So kind of the only real drawbacks. He can disappear at will whenever he needs to just not be there. He does. So if somebody comes over, he will just go away, which causes Nina to really panic because she's so needing of him and so dependent on him. Now, it seems like all of her prayers have been answered because the love of her life is back, the completely perfect, amazing Jamie. But it actually maybe turns out that he's not so perfect. And as he's back, he's still exactly who he was. So he comes back, he's still pretty like critical of her. He's like, man, this place is a dump. Why do you live here? He's like, these decorations are awful. Why don't you have the stuff that I gave you hanging up? And she's like, yes, okay, let's put this thing up that is obviously really ugly. It's no big deal. He also is, you know, he's very complainy. He's a very complainy man. So she has a bit of a cold when he comes back, and he's like, oh my gosh, don't sneeze on me. I don't want to get a cold. Who knows how long that's going to last if I'm dead.
Oh, jeez.
So little things like that. And suddenly Nina finds herself maybe not spending as much time in the apartment anymore. On top of it, he also starts to bring friends around. Other dead people that he's made friends with in the afterlife, because she has a video player and these guys have not seen movies in so long. So they kind of take over her apartment. First it's just 3 other guys, and then it's like 10 people, and then it feels like every time she comes back there's more and more ghosts hanging out doing stuff in her apartment. Most of the time it's just watching videos. Sometimes they have like an entire orchestra going, like he has all these ghost dead musician friends. They're very annoying. They have no respect for her privacy or her space. In the meantime, she's kind of opening up more and more to her friends because she doesn't have that barrier of being depressed and missing Jamie. So she goes off to this cafe with one of her friends, and there's this weird situation that's occurred where her friend is Spanish, and it's a cafe that's mostly Spanish workers. And I don't mean Mexican, I mean from Spain. And the owner of this cafe, there's a giant fight. Apparently he's been underpaying them and kind of screwing them all over because they're immigrants. And so they've been taking money under the table to make up for the lost wages that the little wages they're supposed to be making, that he's been taking extra money off the top, saying that he has to pay their tax. So therefore they shouldn't even get that much. So she gets into a giant argument with the owner, and all of a sudden a guy in the corner, another fine English gentleman, stands up in the middle of this giant row and just starts going, and to the left I have this, and to the right I have that, and what is up my sleeve? And he's like standing up, and everyone's just staring at him like, what? And he brings a like bird out of his coat and releases it, and it's just this like impromptu magic trick, and everyone's just like and starts clapping, and then he just sits back down quietly like, all right, that's taken care of, my work here is done. So this strange man sort of pops up in her world, and she tries to talk to him afterwards to say, you know, thank you for trying, you know, resolving that. But he just runs off. He's like, yes, okay, bye. And she runs into him again on the streets of London. He's getting onto a bus with a bunch of developmentally disabled people, and he's a art therapist teacher. So he's teaching people therapy through art. I know, right?
Seems like a good guy.
Yes, a very good guy. The most good guy. The most opposite to Sir Jamie as possible. Clearly. And he says, you know, actually, I was wondering if maybe you would go out with me sometime. And she goes, and like she's on the bus, and he's gotten off the bus, and the bus is moving, and she's like, yes, yeah, okay, yeah. So now she's got a date with this guy, which is fine because she doesn't actually have a boyfriend. And of course, every time she goes home, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Like at one point she comes back and Jamie is there by himself playing the cello. And she's like, oh, no, don't let me disrupt you. It's beautiful. And he's like, well, you're back awfully late. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, it was always like this. And she's like, I'm sorry. Let's hang out. And he's like, well, I have company. There are 10 ghosts hanging out in your bedroom. I wasn't going to stand here all by myself all night waiting for you. So that being said, she does go out on this date, but instantly feels bad about it. So she shows up late and then she's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't be on this date. And he's like, wait. Okay, look, this is the shortest date I've ever had. However, I'll tell you what, I will walk you to the tube and I am going to hop on one foot up until this lamppost and tell you everything about me that you need to know. And then we'll switch and you'll hop on one foot and tell me everything about your life. And then you can go away to the tube and go home. And she doesn't really have a chance to agree or disagree because he just starts hopping and talking about his whole life and about how he was this like suicidal teenager, but he doesn't really remember why. And then like this thing happened in his family. So he decided to get into art therapy and it's very funny. It's very, very sweet. And then he gets to the lamppost and he's like, okay, now you. And she's like, and she just starts talking. He's like, no, you must hop. In front of all these people going down the middle of the walkway along the Strand, she starts to open up and talk about her life, and she's laughing, she's having a good time, and then out of the corner of her eye, she sees a cellist on the street that looks like perhaps it is Jamie. So she instantly stops. She closes up, she runs off, she goes back home, and of course, at home, things are not great. A friend of hers goes into labor, has a baby. She runs off, helps out with that. And when she comes back, it is the worst. There are like 50 ghosts in her apartment ripping up her carpet under Jamie's tutelage, saying, oh, there's silverfish under here and it's a hideous carpet. It's really ugly. Look at these beautiful hardwood that you've had under here this whole time. Like, we got to release these boards. And she's like, you have to stop. I love this carpet. And he's like, no one loves this carpet. This is a bad carpet. And so she finally breaks and she's like, everyone get out. She makes them all leave. Except for Jamie. He's like, that was incredibly embarrassing. How could you do that to me in front of all these people? And she just says, was it always this way? Was it always this? Was this our relationship this whole time? And she says, it's funny because when you died, I found all this stuff I had hidden that I was too embarrassed to bring out because I knew you'd hate it, but it were things that I loved. And, do you even remember our first date? And there's this very touching moment where at first he's like, yeah, I don't know. We did something. And she's like, well, okay, you don't remember what we did? And he's like, well, we talked. And she's, what did we talk about? And then he kind of goes into detail about this really touching story, remembering every single thing that they talked about on their first date and how romantic and lovely it was. And it's just so heartbreaking because it's clear how much these two people love each other. But he is dead and not necessarily a perfect human being when he was alive. And he recites this really beautiful little poem, which I won't say all of. It's a Spanish poem by Pablo Neruda called The Dead Woman. He says it in Spanish and she translates. He says, my feet will want to march toward where you sleep, but I shall go on living because you wanted me to be. And he says, do you want me to go? And she says, no, I never. I never want you to leave. She leaves the apartment and it's clear that things are kind of at the end of whatever they were or were not. She goes and finds Mark. She apologizes. She explains that, she's dealing with a recent death of somebody she really loved. And he says, I really am very much interested in you. So can we go out again? She agrees and they go out on a date. When she comes back, Jamie's gone. Not in the apartment. Cannot find him. He's disappeared. He's clearly moved on. So she cleans up the apartment. She starts to put things back together. She's getting her life organized again. And the very last bit of the film, Mark has arrived to take her out on a date. She goes out the front door, gives him a kiss. First time we see them kiss. And in the window is Jamie, surrounded by ghosts who said, we did it. And they're clapping him on the back and they're smiling and they're laughing and he's crying, but he's laughing, but he's crying. obviously he came back to show her the worst parts of himself so she could move on. This film is fucking incredible.
I was about to say, man, you fucking love this movie.
I know.
I don't think you have notes. I don't think you needed them at all.
I know. I didn't really look at it. It's funny. I've only seen this film twice, and the last time I saw it was like 15 years ago. But this film is just so beautiful. It's cheap. It's so cheap. They did so little for the ghost effects. There's no effects. There's no effects. It's literally just there. Alan Rickman shows up sometimes and then he's not there sometimes. It reminds me so much of England. I can't help it. I really love it. The characters are just so real and genuine, and what they're experiencing is a very unique version of loss. And it doesn't matter whether this is a loss because of a breakup or a death or whatever it is. It's about lost love and trying to move on when you just can't. And she does this film so well. I mean, they just act the shit out of this. There's some wonderful lines. It's funny. It's sweet. It's sad. There's not a lot to dislike in it other than it's just sad. It's just really sad. And I guess I wish they'd expanded Mark's character a little more. He's just kind of great. But
he's a device.
He's a device. He's 100% a device. This movie is all about Juliet Stevenson. In fact, a little bit of trivia. The director made this film for her. He wanted her to have some expanded acting chops. And to this day, she said it's her favorite role of her career. And she said it was a lot of fun to shoot. The shoot was basically like being at a party. This, although it was a made-for-TV film, it actually won several BAFTAs, including Best Screenplay, Best Actor for Alan Rickman, Best Actress for Stevenson, and Promising Newcomer for Mangala, the director. It became a hit in the American art house circuit, and Mangala was offered work by pretty much every major studio after it came out. Alan Rickman does know how to play the cello, but he plays it with the wrong hand. So they had a stunt arm cellist who stood behind him during all his cello scenes and put an arm through his like coat underneath his armpits and would play the cello for him as he kind of stood there. Juliet Stevenson actually played all of her own piano parts. So that is
I didn't realize that was a thing for cellists, that you had to play with a certain arm.
Yeah, I guess it's like, or at least maybe visually it looks weird if you're doing it the opposite arm.
I can see that.
Yeah. So I think he played it with like left hand or something. But if you haven't seen this film, I know I basically told you the entire plot of it, but really see it. Seriously, there's a lot I didn't talk about in here that's very just touching, beautiful details. So yeah, check it out.
Wow, I will put that on the list.
I think you would dig it. I think you'd dig it a lot, Kelly.
Okay, well, this is decidedly not a romantic movie in any way. So we've gone from lighthearted romantic comedy to romantic drama with comedic elements to High Plains Drifter in 1973.
A drifter came riding out of the West. You know him as Clint Eastwood. The citizens of Largo didn't know him at all.
What did you say your name was again?
I didn't. Fear was in their greeting. Murder was in their minds.
But we're talking about hiring a gunfighter.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that fella there. Now, who is he? Where's he come from?
You don't want to get shot. You don't want your shops or your houses burned. You don't want your women touched. You don't want anything to happen. Except you're afraid to do anything about it.
That stranger's got everybody in this town at each other's throats.
One man against one town. Not bad odds.
About time this town had a new sheriff.
I'm the sheriff.
And the mayor.
I'm the mayor.
Any objections?
You shot my ear off! I'll kill every man in Largo!
You know what you are. You're an animal.
Well, you have a way of bringing that out.
They didn't know him when he drifted into town. Now they'll never forget him.
Clint Eastwood's third film he directed.
I'm a fan of this. I didn't realize he directed it, though.
Yes, his third.
What
First
year is
Western
this?
he directed, 73.
Okay, gotcha.
He directed Beguiled and something else before this one. But the Rotten Tomatoes on this one, the critics at 92.
Oh my
the
God.
Audience at 86.
Whoa.
Had a $5.5 million budget and did about $16 million at the box office.
Whoa.
Way to go, Clint.
Jeez.
did
Way to
well.
pull out the big guns on us.
Yes, you may know Clint Eastwood from his directing of The Gauntlet and Jersey Boys.
Did he really direct Jersey Boys?
Apparently.
Good God.
And if you've ever seen The Gauntlet, it is one of his worst films in so many ways.
Absolutely.
I've not seen this.
Bad. They have a scene in the movie where so many guns are fired into a house, it falls down.
Oh, no.
And all the people inside live.
Oh, no.
It's not a great film.
Maybe they crawled under the floorboards.
It was written by Ernest Tidyman.
Oh.
Who was best known for, he wrote the novel The Shaft was based on. He created the character of Shaft and also worked on a couple of there's a Shaft TV series.
Yeah.
What?
In the 70s. Yeah, I didn't know that one. And he wrote The French Connection.
Oh,
So
shit.
he got some writing chops. Stars Clint Eastwood, who you might know from Revenge of the Creature, Tarantula, and Mr. Ed.
He was in Mr. Ed?
Apparently, like
an
an
episode.
Yeah. And Revenge of the Creature
Wow.
was his first film.
Oh.
Verna Bloom from Animal House and After Hours. And Marana Hill, who just had her in a movie. And she had like the last
Mariana
last
Hill.
week. Mariana Hill.
Yeah, what did I...
Whatever your film was last week, she was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
You guys all know it. We don't. Best known
Messiah of Evil.
There you go.
There.
And I had her down for just Godfather Part 2 and Blood Beach.
Blood Beach, oh man.
So this, you might not have heard this from a Clint Eastwood movie. A man rides into town alone on a horse. He doesn't say anything. He actually doesn't say anything for, I think, 7 minutes.
Oh my God.
But boy, this is him at his most monosyllabic. He says very little in this movie. I had a weird question, though. I was watching this movie. How the hell did anybody find anything when they're wandering around in the Old West? How do you find this
compass,
little town?
man. It's like the ocean.
And some of the locals there seem upset that he's arrived. He kills them. They're no longer upset. This has a horribly problematic scene at the beginning of the film that I'd completely forgot about, where he rapes Mariana Hill.
Wow.
And it's not a particularly violent scene, but it's still what it is. So it's like, okay, this is...
If I recall correctly, it makes sense in the context of what we learn.
By the end of the film, yes.
Rape is never a good thing, but
Where are you going with this, Kelly?
We learned that he is not necessarily
right
who we are led to believe
exactly.
he is.
Oh, okay.
Yes. There's an interesting scene to what's going on in the film where I'll say from the beginning, this is going to get into the spoiler of what the film is about, sort of. There's actually disagreements as to whether he is a ghost or not when it's all said and done. Where you see a scene where he's whipped to death, or apparently looks like he's probably dead from the whipping. And the movie's just horrible when she complains about getting raped and wants something done about it. And the people in town are basically like, oh, poo-poo, lady, go away.
Oh, no.
It's just like, ouch.
It's the entity all over again.
No, it's not that bad. Damn. Then it turns out he killed the 3 men that were supposed to protect the town from these other 3 men who are getting out of jail. So they decide they've got to hire. His name is literally in the script, the Stranger. Mm-hmm. Who never says his name. So they hire the Stranger to protect the town. And when this town gets together to meet, it's like, we'll just give this guy whatever he wants, and we'll make sure he's going to stick around. He'll do it. And boy, he's an asshole. He is, except to the people that the town's assholes to. He's nice to them, but he is.
I'm the mayor.
Yeah, that's right. And the sheriff.
I'm the sheriff.
He's kind of training the town to fight. This is, if you've seen Sergio Leone film, you've seen this movie. If you've seen Pale Rider, you've seen this movie. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details of what goes on because there's some really interesting shit about this film. Mm. But he starts to kind of train the town to fight, sort of. I mean, it's not putting a lot of effort into what he's doing. They go back to the whipping scene again, and it's over 3 minutes long. Of him getting whipped to death by these 3 people and this town people all standing around just watching it happen. But of course, it being a 70s movie, the lady he raped later comes back and sleeps with him again.
Of course. So, coming back for more.
Some point, some of the people in town decide they're done with him and they're going to take him out, and that doesn't go well for them. Mm-hmm. And he has the entire town painted red, which is surprisingly striking looking. It is so neat. And part of what really works well in the neatness of the painting is it's not remotely well done.
No.
Like there's paint dripping all over the windows, and it was obviously done very quickly, which works in the context of the story. And the town is renamed Hell.
Oh.
And I came across strange trivia that I think it was one of those IMDb ones. I don't think this is real, because it made it sound like the crew decided to rename the town Hell because of Clint Eastwood saying "go to hell" too much or something. Going, no, I'm pretty sure since they painted the whole fucking town red, that was probably in the script.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think some of the crew members just go, "I got a cool idea. Just don't tell Clint about it." But one thing about this film, I think it would make a fantastic double bill with High Noon, because it's sort of the opposite of High Noon in a way, but exactly the same. It would be really neat to watch together, I think, because I love High Noon. That's one of my favorite Westerns. The D. Barton, who wrote the score, is far more reminiscent of horror than Western. The music is not Western per se. So, I'm into notes already. So they show up a town, shit goes down, you get to see what happens. There's a line at the end that implies that he is a ghost. And the people who've interpreted the film like to go back and forth whether he is or not. The little person who makes the sheriff and the mayor he's asked him, I think 2 or 3 times, "What's your name?" At the end, he said, "What's your name?" He says, "You already know." Rides off into the sunset.
Doesn't he ride off into the heat waves and then he suddenly disappears?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is done so well that it could look like he's fading into just fading away as you would, or he's really fading away.
Right. Yeah, because what we learn at the end is that the townspeople were there when he was killed, and he's come back not just to take revenge on the people who killed him, but on the entire town.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is a great scene when they get all set up, and he has them do a bunch of stupid shit, like make this big picnic and all this strange stuff. And the 3 prison guys start to arrive, and he just rides out of town. It's such a fantastic scene.
Oh my God.
So it is really, it's a neat movie. It is a really, really good Western.
I also seem to recall, boy, it's been forever since I've seen this. Do we see like some whips coming out of the darkness or something that? And that's very much shot like a horror film.
Oh yeah, it's the scenes with the whipping are very horror film reminiscent, and it's also unique in that a lot of the whip is used a lot in a lot of situations that a gun normally would have been used. Mm-hmm. So it's aesthetically very different at times, and it's really cool. I think it works very well. Those are the scenes that stand out to me with this film, probably because it's got that horror aesthetic so much. some of the extras on the film. This just came out in a giant, really good remastered Blu-ray by Kino, what's it, Laredo? Is how you say their name, Kino. I've got it somewhere in my notes. I'll catch up to it. But man, it looks good. Holy shit, is it gorgeous. And one of the people they have an interview with is Edgar Wright.
Oh.
And makes a very astute and very true statement that the main thing about this movie, as opposed to many Westerns, is it's really mean-spirited. It is not a nice film. There's really, even the hero, quote unquote, is not a nice guy. He's an asshole. He's just dickish. Mariana Hill is also interviewed, produced by horror icon and one-time guest of Crypticon, Heather Buckley. Interviewed her for this. And she had a great, and I think incredibly accurate description of this film, is the whole movie is karma in action. I was like, yeah, that really works. And I mean, this is how new the Blu-ray is. One of the interviews is a Zoom interview.
Oh my God.
Because specifically because they said, and because of COVID-19.
Oh my God. Whoa.
It's considered one of the revisionists or Western or anti-Western, post-Western kind of ideas, because Westerns, especially like John Wayne Western stuff, this is good guy, this is bad guy. And this is not that at all. The entire film blurs the meaning of good or bad. The black and white ethics are moved to a far, far deep shade of gray. Shortly after the movie came out, along those lines, Clint Eastwood contacted John Wayne and wondered if they could make a movie together. Wayne basically sent back an angry letter, denounced the movie for its violence and revisionist portrayal of the Old West, and he had no interest in working with
Revisionist portrayal of the Old West?
Yeah, exactly. John Wayne is a rather black and white individual, I think.
I guess so.
Eastwood didn't even bother to reply to it. It was so obvious that it was never going to happen. The Universal Pictures tried to get the movie shot on a studio, of course, but they didn't do that. The whole town was built in a desert near Mono Lake in the California Sierras. Many of the buildings built to spec. They're actual fully functioning buildings that you could go in. It wasn't the fake fronts of buildings and stuff you see so much in Westerns. They built the whole town, and that was what they used to shoot it. He did a headstone to Sergio Leone and a couple of the other directors he wrote for when he drives up or rides up in the beginning. Pale Rider, which you talked about in a previous, I think it was even
a different Ghost episode,
yeah. And Pale Rider, which came out in 1985, and this film open and closed with the same location, camera angle, and time of day.
Wow.
Huh.
So that's why they're very similar films in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Pale Rider's not nearly as mean.
No.
It's a much easier movie to watch. They had a crew of 46 tech and laborers work 10 hours a day for 18 days to construct the 14 houses and a 2-story hotel.
Wow.
I'm really impressed with hearing that because this is a dirty looking movie. Everything looks lived in, including all the people. But that's surprising to me that they built all that and still looked that ancient and worn.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. It was also filmed in order.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's almost entirely the one location.
Yeah.
You know, they go out and when they go out, it's just, with the exception of one scene, which is the prison, sort of, it's just an exterior. Anything else just placed out in the woods. All they got to do is walk 20 feet and just point the camera the other direction.
Plus, your cast keeps getting smaller and smaller in this movie.
True.
So you can just get them all together at one and then say, okay, we don't need you anymore.
That's actually super smart.
Yes. Yeah, because they were 300 miles outside of Hollywood shooting it.
I was going to say, they had to have built like bathrooms and stuff then.
Yeah, the film was shot in 6 weeks, 2 days ahead of schedule and under budget.
Whoa.
Like, no wonder the guy continued to get work as a director.
Wow.
It was the first of 7 Clint Eastwood movies that featured the actor Jeffrey Lewis. Well, he was in Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, Every Which Way But Loose, Bronco Billy, a bunch of films. None of his really good films necessarily.
Interesting.
Kino Lorber is the Blu-ray company. I think we need to drop them in with Shout Factory, and they do beautiful beautiful work. Lots of nice extras. No Clint Eastwood, unfortunately, but Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Let's see. This and Pale Rider are the only ones that he starred and directed westerns as a western. Vincent.
He didn't direct Unforgiven?
Maybe he did. Could be. Maybe I pulled that off of IMDb old site because I thought he did direct Unforgiven.
I thought so too, but I could be wrong.
A revisionist. Right. Vincent Canby of the New York Times called the film part ghost story, part revenge western, more than a little silly and often quite entertaining in the way that makes you wonder if you lost your good sense. I love finding some of these. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times called a stylized allegorical western of much chillingly paranoid atmosphere and considerable sardonic humor that confirms Eastwood's directorial player. It's also pretty violent. It won't disappoint the millions who flock to the Leone westerns, which is true. It's by modern tales, it's really not that violent. I mean, it's nothing compared to like the Long Riders or some other westerns that have been made. Oh, there's actually a quote here from John Wayne from the letter he sent. That isn't what the West was all about. That isn't the America people who settled this country.
I don't know, man.
Not too far. I mean, that was a hard land.
It was
took hard people to live in hard land.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a film not that long ago, Meek's Crossing, that did like the Oregon Trail, like crossing across the U.S. Like, hey, actually, it was pretty crappy, guys. Like, it was not a good experience.
All of you people that played the Oregon Trail game and died of dysentery, you know what? That's how it was.
Yeah.
Most people didn't make it.
Those rivers were hard to cross, guys. Not just in pixel form.
Good choice. I might watch that tonight.
Yeah, that sounds like such a crazy good film.
It's pretty good. If you like westerns, it's really good. If you hate westerns, it's probably pretty good too, because it's sort of a finger in the face of John Wayne westerns, which is probably why I didn't like it.
Right. Okay. Well, so then that means, Eric, I believe this next pick is yours.
That's right. We're going to go with another bizarrely specific style.
Excellent.
Movies with fog in them.
Yes.
You know what? I had a goal. All right.
And the goal was reached.
It was.
The idea of a film that has radio talent or radio broadcasts play a prominent role in what's going on in the movie.
I choose The Fog.
I was going to say, I can't do The Fog twice, right?
The Fog would be a perfect example.
All right. I like this idea. Okay, so that's what we're doing next week. As usual, big thanks to everybody who's liking and sharing all the posts. As I always say, we have zero advertising budget, so the only time that we get out to other people is when you get us out to other people, and we really, really appreciate that.
Yes.
We'll be back in 1 week. We're talking radio stuff.
Radios.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts